Join us for Youth Lounge with SKNYPA, a talk show on vital topics like tourism, entrepreneurship, education, religion, sex education, and mental health, featuring experts from St. Kitts-Nevis and the Caribbean region. Tune in live on ZIZ on the last Monday of each month at 8:30 p.m.
Welcome back to another episode, our season finale actually.
Look at that, not just any regular episode at
Youth
all.
Lounge with SKNYPA. Now I know it's not the last Monday of the month, but we're here nonetheless, Malika.
Right. Happy Wednesday!
So yes, we are joining you live for another edition of Youth Lounge with SKNYPA. And our focus this evening will be
mental health awareness.
Mental health awareness. And you would see from our backdrop, our set design, that we have some nuggets of inspiration, very much in line with the theme of mental health awareness. So we have some words like, I'm seeing care, strength, peace, love, patience, hope, courage. All words fitting for mental health awareness. Definitely. And so we want you to stick and stay with us. For this episode, we ask you to tell a friend, to tell another friend, and their cousin, right, to join us for Youth Lounge with SKNYPA as we discuss mental health awareness. Now we are encouraging you to join our social media pages, Facebook, YouTube, just to be a part of this wonderful episode that will be brewing, because we have some very good guests this evening and we can't wait to get into it. So stick and stay and don't change that station.
We'll be right back.
What did you mean earlier about climate change, Mom?
Well, when I was your age, I remember beautiful coral reefs and healthy beaches. The summers weren't as hot as they are right now, and the rainy season meant that it only rained when it was supposed to.
And then what happened?
The weather just started to change and storms got worse. Coral reefs started to die because the ocean was getting too warm, and crops started to die because there was not much rain. You know, we realized as adults that we were doing something that was causing this.
What were you all doing?
The same thing we're doing now. Not using clean, renewable energy, chopping down too many trees, and even polluting the air with gases, such as the gases emitted from our cars when we drive around.
We need to help before it's too late, Mom. We can't let it get worse. What can I do? We can raise our voices.
With 35 million dreams, aspirations, and futures at risk in Cari Forum, we need your voice in our story against climate change. Acknowledge, commit, act. This message is brought to you by the Caribbean Community Climate Change Center under the Intra-ACP Global Climate Change Alliance Plus program and is funded by the European Union.
Want to get away? Now you can.
Stop standing in long ATM lines to withdraw cash. Use your national debit or black cards to complete a wide variety of transactions at supermarkets, variety stores, gas stations, pharmacies, and more. Shop online at the most popular websites and stores for quality brands using your national debit or black cards. And take back your time to enjoy all the things that you love to do. Remember, instead of waiting in long ATM lines to withdraw cash, use your national bank cards today.
National Bank, always here.
We are back with our first guest for tonight's season finale. I'll allow her to introduce herself.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I am Dentricia and I'm a consultant and the founder of Be Well and Bloom, which is a nonprofit that works with young persons around mental wellness. So it's a fitting conversation to have.
Definitely.
Yes.
Definitely.
So we'll jump straight into it, Dentricia, and we'll ask you, what does mental health mean to you?
So mental health is really the wellness of our minds, and we know that the mind is pretty dynamic, so it impacts how we think, how we feel, and so it's it impacts all of us, right? Because our mental health falls on a continuum. So you can be doing good one day, you can be struggling another day, right? And so we all have it, even though we all don't have a mental illness. So we have to be mindful that because we have mental health and wellness, all of us, we want to take care of it. And so there are some things that we can do, and we can delve into those that young persons can do. That's traditional, that's non-traditional, that we're comfortable with and not comfortable with, that we can explore to make sure that we're operating at our best and optimizing our minds well,
What I get from you is that it's almost like a wave, like one day as you say you're doing good, even in the same very day, you could switch to not being so good. So having explained that it is a part of us, even if we may not have an illness, why do you think it's important to, as we would say, keep your mental health in check?
Because it's so fragile. And we are all resilient. Of course, we're all resilient, but we don't know how we're going to respond to those stresses of life, right? So we want to make sure that we have some habits to take care of our minds, because we don't know when we would slip into that continuum where it's a bit dangerous, where we're going to have to get professional help, take some medicine, and get some additional support. So usually persons, they just take it for granted, right? That I'm fine, nothing is bothering me. I think we do a lot of avoidance here on St. Kitts.
Push it to the side.
Push to the side. We party, we distract ourselves. We don't deal with the mind intentionally. And so a lot of times when things are not okay, we're a bit surprised. Because we weren't intentional. So I think it's important for us, because we don't know how we're going to respond to things that might pop up in our lives, and there are so many stressors. There's moving, going off to school, a breakup, loss of a loved one, loss of a job, having a baby, getting married, starting a new relationship, like living on your own. These are all stressors, right? And we don't know how we're going to respond. So in order for us to stay on the healthy side, we want to be intentional about how we take care of our minds and how we check in with ourselves.
So mental health encapsulates everything.
You spoke about youth a while ago, and I personally, being on the younger end of the spectrum, have experienced my friends especially where they would express to their parents that they don't feel well mentally, and their parents would always respond, well, you have life good, what's there to worry about? Why would that be an issue, basically? So I'm just asking for that little prompt to the parents, so that youth do go through those bumps in the roads as well.
Well, I think our parents, because I'm on the younger side as well, I'm on the 35, but I think our parents' generation really struggle with emotional health, right? So they know about the physical pain. We know when you're sick physically, right? So it's hard for a lot of them to grasp that emotional challenge that a lot of our young persons are struggling with. So I think for parents, it's just educating yourselves and being curious about, this is not something that I understood from my generation, but it might be something that is very real for a lot of young persons. Because we see that a lot of young persons with social media, with pressures on the job, with pressures by having wanted to achieve so many things, they have a lot of anxiety, depression, and those are the common mental health challenges that we speak about. But there are some young persons who are undiagnosed with bipolar, schizophrenia, those, and it might be hard for a parent to identify, hey, something is up with my child. And so I think it calls the parents to be curious. Hey, my child may not be, physically sick or ill or struggling, but I want to validate that there might be some emotional challenges there, and that there is help to do so. Because the older generation, they're going to go to the pastor, you need to pray about it,
you have something
additional support to get help outside of what they would have grown up with.
It's very good that you mentioned you did the juxtaposition between physical sickness and mental sickness, because parents, because they don't see a scar for mental wellness, for mental illnesses, they don't feel like it exists. It's only when you start to lash out, it's only when you start to, some persons I know have they do this cut thing, and it's only at that point they realize this is really affecting my child. Let's get help. And sometimes it's too late. So what avenues would you encourage persons, even younger persons, to explore to ensure that they do keep their mental health in check?
You know, I want to say that it's important for young persons to have at least one person who they can talk to. Whether it is someone you trust, whether it is a friend, whether it is a professional, whether it's a community, for you to get those emotions out of your head. Because a lot of times you keep so much in, and that can be so it's a valid experience for you, but it might be a different reality, right? So we want someone at least that you can just air it out, talk it out, right? Release that. Then we want young persons to know that you have to stay active, because mental health, there is that physical and mind combination, and I guess you will delve into that later within the program. So a lot of us as young persons, we're on our phones, in our beds, watching Netflix, like we're not moving, but it's important because it impacts the health of our minds. So we want to make sure that young persons are at least engaging in some form of movement. And then at least they're doing the education themselves. Because I find that a lot of young persons know they've diagnosed themselves, right? So you would hear a young person say, I have anxiety, social anxiety, they know all of the symptoms. Right. So we want as young persons to be able to say, all right, I see this on TikTok, I see this on Twitter and Facebook, Instagram. Now let me take it a bit further. What can I do to ensure that I'm taking care of myself? Is there help on St. Kitts? Can I reach out to someone who's a professional? Can I try a different approach to ensuring that my mind is okay? It is okay to be curious with finding new ways to take care of yourself. So it's not about just getting the information. You're diagnosing yourself by the reading. So you have to take some action, and young persons need to appreciate that takes some boldness, and you might have to do it scared, but it's necessary.
Persons think that when you see a therapist or when you go counseling, it's almost as if you're crazy. So what do you say to persons who think that going to a therapy or going to counseling is only for crazy persons?
Well, you know, when we think about crazy, it really stemmed from like the 1500s, right? Because have you guys seen Charlotte on Netflix? Queen Charlotte.
I see everybody talking about
everybody is speaking about
Excellent. So King George, he had a mental illness, right? And mental illness back in that time, it was like they had a demon in
stigmatism,
right? So he had a mental health challenge, but at that time they didn't know it was that. So what they did, they whipped him, they tortured him
to get it out,
of him. So that truly really encapsulates the stigma. Persons think that persons are violent, persons they're self-harming, right? And that's a part of it. There's an institutional side of it, but there's also that side where some of us, we have mild mental health challenges. And so that stigma is something that has stayed with us because of shame, because of the way the media portrays it, the way that we speak about it. So we want to be mindful that because there's a stigma, that we are addressing those things directly. So we're not saying we're changing the way that we talk about it. We speak about mental health. So we're not going to shame our friends because they're saying that they're going to get some help at JNF. Or they're going to a therapist. We're going to encourage them, right? We're also going to be open with speaking about it, speaking what I struggle with, because that helps to address that stigma. So it's not a them problem,
it's
all of us.
I'm not different.
And we also want to be curious about getting medicinal help as well for those severe mental health challenges. Because if you have cancer, diabetes, you're taking your medicine. So we want to make sure that we're being open to the support that helps to address the stigma as well.
Nice.
Well, I can see a change coming, definitely. I think that these are the conversations that have to be had to change that view and to break the cycle, basically, and ensure that people know that, you know, it's okay not to be okay.
It is.
Right. You'll get there one day.
It is. And you know, when you are diagnosed with a mental health challenge, you know, we want to make sure that we are monitoring our own activities. Because the first thing a therapist is going to ask you, they're going to ask you, how long have you been feeling this way? Right? So you want to be able to check in with yourself. Why are you feeling like this for a month, you know? For 6 months, you know? I don't even know when last I smile or laugh I'm just showing up to work, but I don't feel like myself. We want to observe our pattern so that when we reach out to help, we can at least have the language. Right?
You're not going in blindly.
Because when we go to the doctor, he said, how long you've been feeling this way? Where is the pain? So it's a similar approach. Yeah.
But because this one deals with emotion, is almost like because you've been going to the motion of the emotions. It's just like you can't actually tell or pinpoint when you started experiencing this change. And I think that, as you said, being in tune with yourself so that you can communicate this to that person who is offering you that assistance, I think that's important as well, and that is a part of also changing this stigma.
And I think I was at another panel and someone said, sometimes you have to say out loud, I feel upset, I am sad, I am uncomfortable. We have to voice that because, again, as a Kitts-Nevis culture, we dismiss our feelings. So when you say that out loudly, you're validating your experience, and that helps to give you that boldness to take the next step.
I had a friend, like, especially as a male, you know how showing emotions is almost like frowned upon. And I remember at one point in my life, like, that friend would be like, what are you feeling? And like, you stop and you think, like, really, what am I feeling? And you got to like try to communicate how you're feeling. Like, what did you telling me? How did you react to what I told you just now? You know, and it kind of helps you actually to like verbalize.
Right. And there are over 80 emotions. So imagine we only know how to call 4.
That's crazy. Yeah.
So when we speak about educating ourselves, we have to
go into the different emotions. So you could start to verbalize like, I feel
whatever it is.
Yes, I understand. I like that.
But do you think that we have the proper facilities locally to properly deal with, might I say, the mental issues that we face as a country, not just as people?
Right. That's a part of the stigma that we don't have the professional help here on the island, but that's so far from the truth. And that is something that I'm very intentional about with Be Well and Bloom, to have providers who are serving well to come to the sessions. Because we do have professionals here on the island who are qualified, they have success stories, and they are changing lives. They may not be out there in the public, but they're doing their work behind the scenes. And so we do have professionals who we can trust here. And a lot of the challenges with the myths, it's really just a myth. Because when you ask a person, therapist might talk my story, you hear a lot of that. Have you been to a therapist, right? What has been your experience? So I would say that we have the public sector, we have the guidance counselors in the schools, we have those who have private practices, we have those who have group support, and we also have the government side. That is, we have different options, right? So you have the right as a young person to explore your options. You may want to go to someone, we say shop around, so you might want to, you might try someone and you realize you're not really clicking, you're not resonating, something about them, they might be qualified and everything, but something is not clicking in that session. You just don't click with them, right? You don't feel safe,
for you to know that you're not clicking with that person, so you can switch and know when to move.
And don't feel guilty about it either.
And don't, and that's a conversation to have with whomever you are seeing. I don't think this relationship is working. It's a conversation. You just don't ghost them, right? So that is important. So it's important for us to know that there's help on the island, and we don't have to go elsewhere. Because I've been hearing a lot of young persons say they are seeking help with outsiders from the island to get support. We have help here on St. Kitts, and if you want to start anywhere, there's a mental health association that has a resource of seasoned professionals who are willing to help young persons and older persons. And a lot of young persons that we connect with in Be Well and Bloom, they really have their first dose of therapy and help through university. So when they come to session, they said, I did therapy at university. Like, I spoke to my counselor while I left St. Kitts. So they kind of realize that, hey, my therapist doesn't have to be old and great to help. They could be a fetter, I could see them in the store, they could look like me, but they have that that help, that professional toolkit
that is needed for
to
sure.
help you to kind of navigate whatever you're going through.
So what are some of the successes you think that celebrating mental health awareness have brought about?
But I think just observing it is a huge one, because it says that there is a challenge with our mental health, right? And we know that May is Mental Health Month for the Americans, but around the world we celebrate it during October. So we know October the 10th is Mental Health Awareness Day. And so we have 2 times in the year almost when we're in these paths to pause and really reflect on this global challenge. And I think it's an opportunity as well for us to showcase our leaders in mental health as well. So we see a lot of our persons in mental health in the radio, doing interviews, speaking about their services and offerings. And then it's an opportunity for us to speak about the issues when we don't necessarily speak about them. So usually there's a theme around Mental Health Awareness Month. That's a good time where persons may not speak about it in July or September, but they're going to be forced to speak about it during the month. So it's good for us to, that visibility is important, and of course to know that there is accessible help throughout that month when it's advertised.
Good stuff. So just to wrap up this segment of the show, can you tell us a bit about Be Well Bloom and what you offer, and encourage persons out there who need, who may be looking for that therapist, that help that they may need? You could speak to them.
Absolutely. So Be Well and Bloom, we are really a safe space for young persons from 16 to 35. And before the pandemic, every month we met and we had persons who are offering private support come and speak to the community. We had sessions for men, elephant tails, we have sessions for females, and then we transitioned to online because of the pandemic. Then we kind of phase it out 3 times a year where we have activities for the community. And so it's a space where you can come and speak, where you can connect with a private practitioner, and you can get that support. Some persons just need to speak about what they're going through. Some persons just need to appreciate that I am not the only one. This is not only in my head. Some persons need to dress up and come and just get away from the stresses, right, from what they're experiencing in their real life. So that is the opportunity for Be Well and Bloom. So we are resuming our sessions this summer. So persons can visit us on Facebook and on Instagram to learn about the announcements. And we're also putting together a resource for young persons, because I cannot tell you how many young persons say, who can I turn to? Who are the private practitioners on the island, right? So we are creating a resource for persons. You can pin it, you can take a snapshot where you can get help from persons who we trust within the community and persons who have success stories in the field.
Awesome. So I hope persons heard there is help accessible to you, and that is through Be Well and Bloom and a community of supporters. We need a community.
We do.
We need a community where we deal with mental wellness. We sure need a community.
Definitely.
So we'll take a short commercial break and we'll be back with more mental wellness on Youth Lounge with SKNYPA.
Hello and welcome to Event Extraordinaire. Today we wanted to introduce you to our sparkler boxes. Our sparkler boxes are customized to fit any occasion. And today we wanted to show you what exactly comes in a themed party sparkler box. So here goes! Each sparkler pack contains enough items to have a party for 6 persons. So in addition to all the regular parts that come with a sparkler party, as in the cups, the spoons, the plates, and even the horns, we wanted to let you know that you also get masks, you get invitations, there are party hats, there's even a party banner, there's your usual loot bags, you get a tablecloth, and you even get blowers. Our sparkler boxes are available in a variety of themes. There's Spider-Man, Frozen, Paw Patrol, Minnie Mouse, Peppa Pig, any theme that you can imagine, Events Extraordinaire is here to supply. Please visit us today. We're located in Camps next to the 24-hour gas station. Our numbers are 767-6977 or 663-6227. Events Extraordinaire. Let's add the sparkle to your event.
It's time that we realize that we must work together to thrive. The world as we know it, the sky and below it. Could I never have more wonder? Yeah, with life and all you see and the climate's changing.
But hope is remaining
for the future. It depends on you and me. One chance, all that we got. One voice, together we stand. Take care, the world where we live. Permite a todos vivir. Tomamos la oportunidad para guardar la humanidad. And I must leave no one behind because we are one climate, one Caribbean. One climate, one Caribbean.
There is no better time to discover what your National Bank Visa debit or black cards can do.
Mimi, what's that song?
It can get you out of a pickle. Using my National Bank Visa card is fast, secure, and convenient.
Cashless SKN is our new lifestyle choice. National Bank, always here.
Yeah, man. Another day in the books. Well, hello there. Ooh, she pretty from head to toe and are you ready to go? Wait there. Whew. Can't afford to slip up. Not even in my dreams.
And we are back once again with not one but two guests. One is not a foreign face and the other one is a new one. I will let them introduce themselves.
Ladies first.
My name is Andrea James Watley and I'm a mental health counselor at 3C's Counseling Services.
Nice.
My name is Stephen Joseph. I am an administrator at the Ministry of Social Development.
Fair.
Okay.
So we'll jump straight into the question and we'll start off with what we asked our last guest. What does mental health mean to you when you hear mental health and mental wellness?
I guess. Okay. I guess I should take this one since you went first.
Sure.
Mental wellness. It's taking care of you. Who you are as a person, as an individual, comes from your mental state. What you present to the public, that is your mental. What you are internally, things that you like, you dislike. So your entire being rests on your mental. So it's taking care of you. So that's what it means to me, taking care of you. The things that make you you.
Okay.
What about you?
There's so many different definitions when it comes to mental health, but in the context of this conversation, I would say it's, let's say it's the state of your well-being and how able you are to cope with life stresses.
Sounds familiar. What we've heard before and what you guys are contributing to the definition of what mental wellness means to you. Okay, so there is this notion that taking care of your mental health is for adults only.
The grown-ups.
The grown-ups. Yes. What would you say to persons who have or who hold this view?
Well, I often get that because in interacting with children or young adults, persons would often say, oh, they have nothing to worry about. But it's very similar to your physical health. We take our babies to the doctor, we take them when they're about to go to high school for their physical, and it's very similar. So when it comes to our physical health, we have to treat it the very same way for our mental health.
I think going back to the question there, stage is important. Everybody's at a different stage or in a different phase of their life. So what stresses you or what your stressors are at a particular stage is always going to be different. And I think there is, we always talk about that gap between the older generation and the younger generation, and I think those definitions and the realization of stages is what kind of forms that gap in a lot of the senses. So you have older persons who are not able to or have not been exposed enough to the staging to recognize the stage that a young person is in, and to be able to speak to that stage. So on one hand, I think older persons, they don't necessarily mean it in a bad way to say that you have nothing to worry about. It's just the lack of understanding of
at that point
of that person's stage. So education definitely needs to happen so that the older individual, I hate calling them that, but they need to understand stage, and then for the younger person to have the ability and the safety and the environment to express that, hey, this is bothering me. In the grand scheme of things, it might be trivial, for lack of a better word, but it is the most important thing to that person at that time. So you need to treat it as such. Might not turn out to be the most important thing in reality, but you still need to at least validate it. And after you validate it, then anything else can come after that.
That's actually important, right? Because, and I'm happy that you mentioned stage, because, like, for instance, when a child is young, say primary school, about grade 3, and they lose a parent, other persons be like, they know the person died, they know the person gone, they gonna affect them. But it's almost important, and I'm happy, as I said, you mentioned that, because it shows that even at that point, at that stage, you might not have an in-depth understanding. But as Anjay said, you expose your children to physical health, and it's also important at that point to expose them to that mental health and mental wellness aspect.
You're correct. You're correct, because when it comes to children and their mental well-being, it's important that they hit those developmental milestones. So when we reach adulthood and we then begin to face mental health issues, sometimes it goes way back to our childhood, because sometimes we don't hit those developmental milestones. We probably had some trauma or something happened to us that we didn't get through that phase as we should have, and so it affects us in our adulthood. So that is why when we are speaking about mental health, we have to take it as serious as physical health, because when a baby begins to get their first tooth, we begin to take care of it, because we understand that that tooth must be able to do what it's supposed to do. But if we don't take care of it, it's going to decay over time, and then you have to take it out and wait for it to get a next tooth. But when it comes to our mental health, we have to address it the same way, because if we don't deal with it, if we don't take care of whatever the issues are there, then it's going to spill over into adulthood.
That's so true.
Going back to something that you said is really, really important. We spoke about, a child in grade 3. I look at twins. When you have twins, in most cases, when you separate those twins, they're almost like they're reaching out to each other, right? So it's unfair for any person to say that it doesn't affect them. It does. It's understanding how it has affected them and how you can speak to it, and a lot of that happens. There's trauma that has never been spoken to. It lives inside that individual's head, and it almost takes on a personality of its own. So by the time that trauma emerges, we see it as anger, we see it as being disruptive in class and that kind of stuff. and we sadly attack it
how to deal with
from
it.
the standpoint, from the symptoms, and not trying to get to the root cause of, like, okay, so why are you angry? Why are you fidgeting? Why are you this way? So though the answers to those whys, and oftentimes it's not like, why are you fidgeting? Well, this is why I'm fidgeting. You hardly get that. So it's, why are you fidgeting? I don't know. And that's where professionals come in, because they then have the tools and the know-how to probe without causing more damage. And that too is important when it comes to mental health and mental well-being, is knowing that, hey, I have a friend I can talk to. I can say this to you, but also knowing that, okay, how do I phrase this? I don't want to say that your friend is not enough, because your friend is a vital part of it, but at the same time, there must be someone who's introduced to the situation who can probe without making things worse.
Correct. That's very important, and I like what you said, because a lot of times parents are faced with these problems, but they don't know how to communicate that. They don't know how to deal with those issues. So sometimes with the right intention, but the wrong tools. You know what I mean? And so the message gets lost there, and there's more damage done more so than helping. So that is why it's very important, just like how we will check in with a medical doctor, that we seek the help of a professional when it's out of our reach, so that we can get those tools needed to help the children.
And it's uncomfortable to talk. Like, people think that, okay, so I'm going to a therapist and I'm going to sit down and I'm going to have a conversation. It hardly ever happens that way. You go to a therapist and you sit down and you stare at each other for the first 10-15 minutes, like, okay,
what's going to happen now?
Because it's like a baby learning how to speak. You're going to say the wrong things. They're going to call red blue and blue red and orange and stuff like that, because they're kind of figuring out how to communicate, and also figuring out how you communicate as well, so that they can ensure that the message that they're trying to get across to you gets there. And it's that uncomfortable period of growing pains and learning how to communicate that I think a lot of times the process breaks down, because it's like, okay, this is not working, because you're not understanding me, I'm not understanding you, so let's just stop. And let me put a plug in for men right above, because
do that.
We are the worst at communicating emotions sometimes, and I think it's because of how we're cultured.
Definitely culture. I said
you said it in an earlier segment that we do not have safe spaces to say, I'm hurting. We don't have safe spaces to say, this is upsetting me. Anger is always seen as, like, you're labeled. You're an angry child. You're an angry person. You're an angry man. So everybody needs to stay away from you. And then even when you cool down and you come back to center, sometimes it's like,
you're already labeled.
You're already labeled, so you take on that role.
And you start to live in it, and you do everything.
And then you yourself start to believe that. And
so we need more safe spaces for men.
Yes.
And I think it's a society problem too.
Be well, Bloom. We'll talk to her. And so I want to, the focus for mental health this year was anxiety. And audience and viewers, you may hear us asking them a lot of questions related to children because of their background, just for those who don't know. So children, of course, go through a lot of anxiety, school stress. Like, what are some of the techniques that you would encourage parents to employ to assist your children as they deal with anxiety?
Okay. All right, let me first say this, that for children, and it's important that we understand where the anxiety comes from. In our brain, there's like this almond-shaped thing in our brain. I'm not going to call this the names, but there's the almond-shaped thing in our brain. And that's like it's like the security guard. It tells you that you're in danger or warning or something's going to happen. And so one goes down to the other little guy who basically sends out the signal, we have to do something. So that's where we go into fight or flight mode. And this is how I explain it to children. That you're in flight or flight mode. You're either going to defend yourself or you're going to run. And we recognize that in schools, especially, students tend to, or children tend to become defensive. They become aggressive. So they're in the fighting mode. And we label them as disruptive, or they are misbehaving. But it's really sometimes they're not able to deal with their anxiety. So sometimes they need to center. They need to calm down. It's a means for them to learn how to calm their emotions. So one thing that I have them do is counting. And not just the regular counting 1 to 10. You have them count. You could say, okay, we're going to count 1, 100, 2, 100, 3, 100. But in doing so, we have them just stroke your finger. Stroke a finger. Every time you say 1, 100, 2, 100, 3, 100. It makes them, it forces them to slow down their thought process. So now you have to think about the counting. You have to remember.
You have to know what finger you're on.
So it slows you right down. That's just one quick way. Another way, especially for older children, is to get them involved in physical activities. Because in the physical activities, all of that, the cortisol, all those hormones that run up and down, calms them right down. What we don't want to happen is to have them go into a room where, you know, they're just there, and it allows the anxiety to come on more, and then that's where you really have that attack. And we don't want it to escalate. So those are just 2 quick things that can be done. For smaller children, like those 3, 5, 7, we can do an I Spy game where we use our senses, because they're in tune with their senses, the sensory area now. You have them spot 5 things that they see and have them call it out, say what they see. And then you have them, we go down 4 things that you can touch. And they name out the 4 things that they can touch. Then you have 3 things that you can hear. You have them name out. What are you hearing? 2 things you can smell. And then the last thing, 1 thing that you can taste. And by that time, they should have calmed down and be able to communicate. Right. Well, I felt this way. You know, so it helps you. But you as a parent have to exercise patience and calm.
Right on the top. Right on the top.
Patience, right at the top. So it's important to exercise that patience and you be calm, because it helps with the situation.
Yes, because a lot of times they get parents and even persons who are guardians, I would describe them as, you know, they deal with each other, they aggravate the situation. Each other start to like defend, fight off life. So it's like they're continuously in a fight mode, nothing to bring them down. So I'm happy that I'm hopeful that the parents are listening. Stroke method,
I Spy, the physical exercises.
Yes, definitely.
There's breathing. There's so much.
Yes, a horse.
Yes.
I think we also have to understand that anxiety is something that is dealt with or handled in the long term. Whereas those nuggets of wisdom, they come at the particular situation.
Correct.
We also have to learn how to approach it in the long term, because anxiety just doesn't go away. You know, we experience anxiety in a whole lot of different areas. There's anxiety even coming on this show.
Yes.
You know? And having someone in my family who has severe anxiety, it's not a one-stop shop. You know, there are different things. Anxiety comes from the fear of the unknown, not knowing what's going to happen next, and being able to first recognize that, hey, this is anxiety. This person is having an anxiety attack. I think that's one of the first tools that parents need to arm themselves with. How do I identify what's the difference? What's happening here? And then the second step is, why is this happening? Why is my child experiencing anxiety? And simple things can trigger anxiety, big things can trigger anxiety. And so, armed with that knowledge, then you can carefully and selectively apply the methods. Because one method might work better in this case because that's what's happening, and so on. And these skills are learned through counseling and therapy. And we're going to use those words a lot simply because we as a society, we as a nation need to get away from that whole you're crazy if you're going to counseling, you're crazy if you're going to therapy. You think of it as school. Think of it as a learning environment where you can arm yourself with the tools that are necessary to cope and to bring yourself back to center. Personally, I've benefited from martial arts. That's something that also helps with disciplining yourself and disciplining your mind, and it puts you in a mode where you can understand, because the whole bringing you back to center is bringing you to a point where you can process what happens. So you're coming back to the start line so you can process things a different way. Yoga is something that's huge right now. That's something, and I'm putting in a plug for my new friend that you'll see later.
Just get that opportunity to plug.
But yeah, yoga is really good because, again, it's a self-awareness thing. And even that stroke method, you're holding your finger and you're stroking your finger because it allows you to be present in this moment. Right? Instead of your mind shooting off into all of the what ifs, and then the security guard that you're talking about having to defend against all of these real or perceived threats.
Correct.
So something as simple as doing that, it's like, hey, I didn't know that this bump was on my finger. So instead of you shooting off to the threats, you're now focusing on the bump on your fingers. Right? And then energy, your fight or flight response starts to recede, and then you can now process. And there's no processing that happens before you calm down.
So we spoke about the behavioral aspect, right? But recently in the news in Trinidad and Tobago, I think there was this student who committed suicide just hours before his CXC exam. What are some of the methods that you would speak to as it relates to helping persons with exam stress, that pressure to do well in school, things along that line?
Well, for students, I try to encourage them to take the necessary breaks and look at the bigger picture. Yes, they get a lot of pressure from the outside, but what are your expectations for yourself? So we write them down. What are your goals? This is what I want to achieve, and how am I working towards achieving these goals? It's about you. It's about the child, the student, recognizing what they need to do. And it's until you reach at that point, then you'll say, hey, what I'm perceiving, just what Stefan was saying, what I'm perceiving to be a threat really isn't a threat. So it's really about bringing the child to that level of self-awareness. They know who they are in that moment, so that it doesn't drive them to feel like, okay, I have to accomplish this because of, everybody else's expectation. So this is something that we have to be very mindful of, especially during this season, because it is the exam season, and we do put a lot of pressure. And I say we, as a society, we do put a lot of pressure and unnecessary stress on the children, instead of encouraging them and letting them know, we know that you're going to do your best. Not saying you're going to do your best, It's like we have to change how we communicate to our children. So it's not just on them, but it's also on us, because unfortunately the child that led to suicide, it wasn't necessary because of them. It's because of all of the external pressure that was coming at the child.
And we also have to look at it's always sad to hear suicide, and those external pressures coming from parents and society. We also have to kind of throw in the plug. It's okay if you don't do well.
Exactly.
Right? And that's not something that's talked about. It's okay if you don't do well, because there are many things that come together that will cause you not to do well. You can have a panic attack during an exam. It causes you not to do well. And knowing that one moment doesn't define your entire life is something that allows you to say, all right, so this is my plan of attack moving forward, right? So we always have to think of the next step, moving forward. Let's keep moving, and we also have to get out of this. I call it the doctor, lawyer, teacher mentality, where it's just you have that expectation that,
Yes.
hey, my child is going to be a
Mainstream.
doctor, lawyer, or teacher. And so because of that, you no longer accept, or society no longer accepts anything else. So you did well for what it is you want to do with your life, but then society doesn't see it or respect it. And then you too have to be taught that that's okay. That's okay if you can't see me. It doesn't mean that you're my enemy. It doesn't mean that it's anything negative. It's just where I am, and it's just where you are. And we have to learn to have that mutual respect for each other. And that too allows us to move forward with our lives and not everyone else's life.
Yes, thank you so much for that, those nuggets of appreciation and those nuggets of wisdom. So I think we'd of course love to stay here and speak to you so much more to encourage parents, because it's a very, very, very timely and touchy topic. But we'll have to take a short commercial break, and we'll be back with more mental wellness on Youth Lounge with SKNYPA.
Hi, and welcome to Events Extraordinaire. I'm Candice Franklin, and I'm the Managing Director at Events Extraordinaire, where we believe in adding the sparkle to every event. At Events Extraordinaire, we specialize in event planning, event management, photo shoot decor, just about any event that you can dream up, we can execute. Events Extraordinaire is located at OOJJ's Commercial Complex, which is right next to the 24 Hours gas station in Camps. So stop by anytime and you can partake in what we have to offer.
It's time that we realize that we must work together to thrive. The world as we know it, the sky and below it. Could I never have more wonder? Yeah, with life and all you see, and the climate's changing.
But hope is remaining.
And we can't ignore the future. It depends on you and me. One chance, all that we got. One voice, together we stand. Take care, the world where we live. Permite a todos vivir. Tomamos la oportunidad para guardar la humanidad. And I must leave no one behind, because we are one climate, one Caribbean. One climate, one Caribbean.
It's all about the glam with stylish new frames from Quartz Optical. Shop today for up to 50% off and pay nothing for 30 days. Book now at www.quartzoptical.com. Get the look you want at the price you need. Plus, at Quartz Optical, our eye exams are always free. So what are you waiting for? Come down and get glam with up to 50% off selected frames. Quartz Optical, value you can't see.
Here are your Horseman Value Mart IGA specials.
Running June 1st to the 14th.
And now your Value Club Blue Tag specials. Essential Everyday Mayonnaise, just $19.99. Lay's Stack Chips, $8.99. Nabisco Oreo Cookies, $17.99. Essential Everyday Cream Cheese, $7.99. Mott's Applesauce, just $13.79. Palmolive Ultra Dish Liquid, $15.99. And now your very low weekly
value deals. Bumblebee Chunk Light Tuna, Water and Oil, $4.49. Kraft Barbecue Sauce, $7.49. Langus Cranberry Juice, $11.99. IGN Essential Everyday Pasta, $4.99. Nature Valley Granola Bars, $9.99. Soft Soap Liquid Hand Soap, $4.99. Shop Smart, Shop Value Mart, dale Spanish.
Sea listo y haga sus compras aquí en
Value Mart.
In cricket, there are a few essentials. A bat, a pitch, a ball, some fielders, and plenty of refreshments. Enjoy the cricket with Angostura Chill. Angostura Chill, the official refreshment partner of the Hero CPL T20.
Welcome back to another show for Youth Lounge with SKNYPA. If you are just joining us, we are discussing mental wellness. And joining us this evening, we now have Miss Dale Amory. So I will allow her to introduce herself and tell us about what she does.
Okay, my name is Dale Amory. I'm a Canadian Kittitian who's lived here for 28 years, raised two beautiful children who are now adults. Been through a couple of careers, came here with Scotiabank, opened up a private school called St. Kitts International Academy, and now I am the owner and operator of Imagine Yoga and Sound Studio, and also the founder of Be Me Project, which I'm excited. I'm hoping I'm going to be able to have time to talk about it because it answers a lot of questions to what all the other panelists were talking about.
Nice. So tell us about what you do at Imagine Yoga.
Okay, so Imagine Yoga is a yoga studio that I run in Frigate Bay out of my house. I do a number of yoga classes, and also added to the yoga class is sound therapy. So I think a lot of people understand or have an idea of what yoga is. But sound therapy is something that's a different modality, which is actually a therapy that can be used to help you with a lot of the issues that were mentioned here before. Anxiety, stress, depression, just, any type of tension that you're dealing with, any type of stress that you have in your life. Sound therapy can help you with that.
So how effective you think that technique is at assisting with mental health and its challenges?
It's very effective. And what is so interesting is sound is where we all started from. Even, in the Bible it says, first there was the Word, and then it said, let there be light. Okay? Sound is everywhere. Sound is everything, because sound is vibrations. We're all vibrations. We're all energy. We're all frequencies. Okay? So we're made up of billions and trillions of cells. So what these finely tuned instruments that I use, what they do is when I play them, they resonate with every cell that's in your body. So the way that disease comes about in your body is when we're out of balance or out of harmony. From stress, from mental unwellness, or through physical unwellness. Sound therapy can help bring you back into harmony, into balance, so that then all of your energy inside your body will flow better, which means that you will feel better, which means that your mental capacity will be better. And the beauty of all of this is now that science and physics is proving this to be true. So a group that I did a course with out in California, they're working with, they have over 600 doctors and sound therapists. Sound is actually being used in hospitals, not only in the US, but also in the UK, to help patients. And they're also doing a project where they're working with people that are suffering from dementia, and they're having great success.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool.
Sounds great.
Yes.
Sounds great. Big things ahead.
Yes,
definitely.
Absolutely.
Well, as it relates to the yoga, the guest before spoke about keeping physical.
Yes.
How do you think yoga, as it relates to stress and anxiety, differs from any of the other physical attributes per se?
Okay, I'm going to tell you two young people. Did you know that yoga was a science?
No.
No, see? Yoga is actually a science. So a lot of people think yoga is just about the movement. but actually yoga encompasses everything that makes up this human body. Okay? So it not only affects you on a physical level, it affects your mind, it affects your energy, it affects your emotions, and it can affect the environment around you. Because actually, what I've learned through my yoga journey, and which I now want to teach everybody, or as many people as I can, and my goal is to get into all the schools in St. Kitts with this, is to teach people that life truly happens from within.
Powerful.
And it's our responsibility to make ourselves the best that we can be. What yoga has, it has the tools to teach you how to do that. Okay? And so I do that through yoga. I help people with sound therapy. And now what I'm developing, or actually it is been developed and it's actually close to being launched, is the Be Me Project. And the Be Me Project, myself along with some other beautiful ladies, we're all teachers, we're all parents, and it is teaching people about their bodies, their energy, their emotions, their mind, and their environment. And that is all of you. Okay? So it's not only about looking after our physical, it is looking after our mental. It is looking after our energy.
Yeah.
You know, we've lived in a society where we've always talked about time management.
Yes.
Right? Well, we can't manage time.
Right.
Time is going to keep ticking anyway. The sun is going to come up. We're going to enjoy our day. The sun is going to go down. It's all going to be a cycle. It's going to happen again. What our lives actually are is the energy that we have with that time and what we do with that energy. Does our mental state affect our energy? Absolutely. Absolutely. I love how you have all of these behind here that talks about the positive ways that we can support ourselves through our mental wellness. So as I was saying, with sound therapy, it's all about vibrations and frequencies. So our bodies are all vibrating, right? And so when you are at a lower vibration, for example, feeling anxious, feeling depressed, you're zonked. You're tired. You don't have the energy to do what you want to do. That adds to it, right? But take how you feel when you're happy. And when you have a lot of joy in your life, you feel lighter. You feel like doing more things. Your days go really quickly, right? So that's what it's all about, is teaching you how to bring your energy up to a higher level by living your life through your higher vibrations and making you feel better. My motto, how I live, is, and I tell everybody this that comes to my class, I live my life through love, because love is the energy of life. And love is the highest vibration.
Love.
Another
word.
Another word, right there. Right there.
Yes.
And the most important love is love for yourself.
Deep.
Deep inside, yes.
Deep but simple.
Yes.
Right?
Definitely.
It is simple. It is. And I don't want to make it a less or anything, but it really is something that can be taught. And I teach it by using something that everybody has. As a matter of fact, we can't live without it. It's our breath. Our breath is a simple but a very powerful tool to help calm ourselves in any situation. And I'd love to teach as many people as willing to listen to
And definitely, my interest is definitely
piqued. All right, so I'll keep you posted.
Okay, so I know that yoga is not really a mainstream avenue that is explored in St. Kitts, or is it?
It is.
Okay.
You would be surprised at the number of people that come to I had a sound bath last month, and there was 42 people there.
Wow.
And the thing I loved about it all, because I do get a lot of the students from Ross University and stuff, but what I loved about it, 65% of those people were from our local community.
Oh, wow.
That was
a large portion of them were young men.
Wow.
Oh, yes.
Look at that.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, because no offense to the males, But women are, I believe, are more open, right? Because we're allowed to be. We're, you know, as like
that's definitely it.
Showing our emotions.
The vulnerability is okay when
yes, when you're a female,
right?
But a male is not so much, right? You know, and we need to change that.
Correct.
Because we're all human, and not only that, whether we're male or we're female, we as females, we also have a male energy in our body. And as males, they have female energy, right? What we need to do is to bring that into balance. That's what we need to do, all right? So that you are tapping in to everything in your body.
So was there some level of difficulty that you encountered in encouraging persons from within our local community to participate in this?
Yeah, I think people are skeptical.
Okay.
Right, and then a lot of people say, "Well, yoga's not for me," and a lot of it is because they don't understand exactly what yoga is. Nobody knew. Like, I'm not saying nobody knew, but when I told you it was a science, I think you were pleasantly surprised.
Definitely.
And the reason it's a science is because our minds and our bodies are the most complex piece of machinery, if we, can use that analogy, that exists. Right? So we have to learn how to operate it to its optimum level.
Yes.
But are we taught that? How much were we taught that in school? How to allow ourselves to operate
at our optimum?
No. What we were, it's driven by the academics, it's driven by the test standards, that sort of thing. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. There's definitely a place, but just as much emphasis has to be on every individual and how they do that. Because not everybody's an academic.
Yeah.
I think somebody was saying it just a little while ago. I applaud our doctors, I applaud our lawyers, but everybody is unique and everybody has something to offer, and we need to tap into that, and we need to respect that, and we need to teach them how to respect themselves and love themselves for who they are.
Yes.
So, and that's what yoga can do for you.
Awesome. So I see you brought some pieces of equipment.
I brought
so excited.
Just one of many that I have, and this is a Tibetan singing bowl. Okay, so what I'm going to do very briefly, I'm not sure how much time we have, a very, very short, brief meditation. Okay, so what I want you to do is, if you could lay down that iPad, please. All right. I want you to lay your hands in your lap just like this, left hand, right hand on top. Relax your shoulders. I invite you to close your eyes and just bring your awareness to your breath. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. Just awareness to the natural flow of your breath. And now I invite you to take a nice deep breath, completely filling up that diaphragm and exhaling it out slowly and softly. And again, filling up with breath and exhaling softly and slowly, making the exhale longer than the inhale. One more, breathing in deeply and exhale it out softly, slowly. And now coming back to your normal breath, just being aware of how you feel in this moment. You're here and now, right now. The only moment you have is where life truly happens, in the here and now. Clearing your mind of the past, letting go of a future that is unknown, and enjoying this moment, this here and now. And whenever you're ready, nice and gently open your eyes, and you can tell me about how you feel.
How you feel, Malika?
There's no right or wrong here. There's no right or wrong.
I feel like I was lost. I was lost in it.
Mm-hmm.
Like nothing was on my mind.
Right.
I was just here, just the way, like the sound that it was making.
Yes.
I was
And at a
just
point in time, it's like you could feel when
you feel when you're letting go.
Yes.
Yes. So you could feel. Not only could you hear the sound. Sound is a vibration. You could feel it.
Yeah, I feel like I was being lost in
the
after of the.
What is me?
Yes, the tone, the overtone,
Yes.
the
Right.
the bowl. That's the singing. They call it a singing bowl because
Wow.
it actually sings too.
Wow.
My interest is definitely peaked.
Might as well.
You have to keep us posted on when you're offering.
Yeah,
your
well,
classes.
actually, Saturday night's a full moon event with a full-on sound bath. I have many instruments. I don't want to advertise here on your program. Seriously.
That is why we are here. We are trying to let persons know the
various
options.
Yes.
So you can let us know.
Yeah,
Let
so
the audience
absolutely.
know.
Anybody wants to follow me at my Instagram tag is at Imagine Yoga St. Kitts. And if you want to know more about the Be Me Project, it's at Be Me Project. And you can find some wonderful tips and tools there on what you can do yourself to help yourself. Because at the end of the day, it's really up to the individual to do what they need to do to help themselves.
Definitely.
And, you know, as the other guests were saying, there are a lot of availability, a lot of persons available here now on the island. I am happy to share with anybody, any group, anytime, what I do. And I think as a community, we can come together and make it better for everybody.
Nice.
And that's my dream, and that's my wish, and that's my hope.
Support.
Yes, absolutely.
A word on the wall.
And compassion.
Yes.
Compassion for everybody. Because we're all in this together.
Definitely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think we can definitely take a commercial break after that.
After
So
that,
we
mindful.
thank you, Miss Amory, for your demonstration and your knowledge that you shared with us. We'll take a short commercial break and we'll be back with more mental wellness on Youth Lounge with SKNYPA.
Hello and welcome to Event Extraordinaire. Today we wanted to introduce you to our sparkler boxes. Our sparkler boxes are customized to fit any occasion. And today we wanted to show you what exactly comes in a themed party sparkler box. So here goes! Each sparkler pack contains enough items to have a party for 6 persons. So in addition to all the regular parts that come with a sparkler party, as in the cups, the spoons, the plates, and even the horns, we wanted to let you know that you also get masks, you get invitations, there are party hats, there's even a party banner, there's your usual loot bags, you get a tablecloth, and you even get blowers. Our sparkler boxes are available in a variety of themes. There's Spider-Man, Frozen, Paw Patrol, Minnie Mouse, Peppa Pig, any theme that you can imagine, Events Extraordinaire is here to supply. Please visit us today. We are located in Camps next to the 24-hour gas station. Our numbers are 767-6977 or 663-6227. Events Extraordinaire. Let's add the sparkle to your event.
What did you mean earlier about climate change, Mom?
Well, when I was your age, I remember beautiful coral reefs and healthy beaches. The summers weren't as hot as they are right now, And the rainy season meant that it only rained when it was supposed to.
And then what happened?
The weather just started to change and storms got worse. Coral reefs started to die because the ocean was getting too warm, and crops started to die because there was not much rain. You know, we realized as adults that we were doing something that was causing this.
What were you all doing?
The same thing we're doing now. Not using clean, renewable energy, chopping down too many trees, and even polluting the air with gases such as the gases emitted from our cars when we drive around.
We need some help before it's too late, Mom. We can't let it get worse. What can I do? We can raise our voices.
With 35 million dreams, aspirations, and futures at risk in CARIFORUM, we need your voice in our story against climate change. Acknowledge, commit, act. This message is brought to you by the Caribbean Community Climate Change Center under the Intra-ACP Global Climate Change Alliance Plus program and is funded by the European Union.
Here are your Horseman Value Mart IGA specials.
Running June 1st to the 14th.
And now your Value Club Blue Tank specials. Essential everyday mayonnaise, just $19.99. Lay's stacked chips, $8.99. Nabisco Oreo cookies, $17.99. Essential everyday cream cheese, $7.99. Mott's applesauce, just $13.79. Palmolive Ultra Dish Liquid, $15.99. And now your very low weekly
value deals. Bumblebee chunk like tuna, water and oil, $4.49. Kraft barbecue sauce, $7.49. Langus cranberry juice, $11.99. IGN essential everyday pasta, $4.99. Nature Valley granola bars, $9.99. Soft soap liquid hand soap, $4.99. Shop smart, shop Value Mart. Tell them Spanish.
Sea listo y haga sus compras aquí en
Value Mart.
And we are back with our final pair of guests for the season finale.
Yes.
And I'll allow them to introduce themselves.
Hi, good night everyone. My name is Naomi Francis and I'm an ambassador for YouReport.
Good evening everyone. My name is Darren Connor and I am also a YouReport ambassador for St. Kitts and Nevis.
Awesome.
Great.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Okay. So tell us a bit about what YouReport OACS does.
So YouReport OACS, well, let's start with what YouReport is. YouReport is a platform that was launched by UNICEF in conjunction with the OACS Commission as a means of promoting youth empowerment and getting the youth voice out. So that's essentially the main aim of YouReport. So recently we had a relaunch in St. Kitts, as we would have said earlier, which happened throughout last week. We had numerous media engagements, numerous visits to the schools, and I think it's safe to say that we had a really good relaunch. It was effective. The response we got was overwhelming. On our first day of school visits, we had over 300 sign-ups, and it's very easy to sign up, and we encourage all young people between the ages of 13 to 29 to join YouReport, to become a part of YouReport, and to help promote the mission of getting the youth voice out and, you know, just getting involved in decisions that affect the youth. So we would have also went to various media engagements. So we were on Good Morning SKN, we were also on Good Morning Grenada, we were at Youth Beats, and now
you're right here in
the Youth Lounge.
Right.
And we also went to Nevis, which Darren can talk a bit more about.
Before you speak about Nevis, I want to know how does YouReport OACS, how does it work? Like how do you be a part of the Voice Matters chain?
Okay, well, it is very easy to join. So all you do is text the word join, JOIN, to either our WhatsApp number, which is 758-287-2124, or you go to our various media
social media platforms, either Instagram or Facebook, and you send the same message, join, to those platforms, and you will, oh, we're also on Twitter, sorry, and you will get a response. You'll have to answer 3 questions, which are simply for demographic reasons, and that's it. Your reporter is very, very simple, and the most important part of this is anonymity. It's anonymous, so we will not know your identity, we will not know where you are from. All we will know is we have new reporters who are in a certain parish. So there is no personal information that is saved. And your report is not just in the OECS. We are a part of 95 countries with over 26 million new reporters. So it's a global movement. It's not just here in St. Kitts or here in the OECS, but it's a global movement.
Sounds safe, sounds like the in thing.
Definitely.
So Darren, how was Nevis? Yes.
Well, the Nevis exploration was really well. It was well thought out, it was well planned, and the reception from the individuals, it was exceptional.
Okay.
They themselves are really eager to join. They're eager to voice their opinions, and they of course would have told us that, hey, this is something we've been waiting on. We were unable to voice our opinions in a safe manner before this came along, and so they themselves are truly excited and on board. When we went to some of the schools in Nevis, they almost trembled us how eager they were to join.
Okay, so now that our viewing audience have already joined the platform,
right,
we of course are discussing mental wellness in the youth lounge this evening. And so given that May is Mental Health Awareness Month, can you tell us some of the work that your report OECS has done within this thematic area?
Well, before we go directly into that, your report, just a bit of how it works in terms of the platform. So your report sends out polls to the various your reporters, sorry. And through those polls, we are able to collect data that can now be used to make decisions and be passed on to the relevant authorities, relevant organizations to start to implement certain initiatives that can impact youth directly. So like, for example, like you said, the mental health conversation, a poll was done recently and we'll share some of the results. But just to give you a bit of how it works, so you also have the fundo aspect of your report. Fundo is very simple. So you type into the same chat the words FUNDOO, F-U-N-D-O-O, and it provides you with various tasks that will help you develop personal life skills. And even with mental health, FUNDOO can be used, which is what Darren will go into in a bit.
So upon joining the report platform and of course typing in FUNDOO, there are various tasks that could be completed. One task I would have completed just a few moments ago would have dealt with how do I communicate with someone. And of course some of the guests would have spoke about communication and speaking to not only our parents but our peers about how we feel. And it gave me a little bit of prompts. It asked me, well, was there a time when I felt I could have assisted someone but I didn't think I had the right information, I didn't think I had the right skill. And it allowed me to go through it step by step. It even allowed me to call the person and to tell them, well, hey, I've been thinking about this for some time and I really think it would have affected myself, and I think it affected you in a different way. And I'm willing to hear how it would have affected you and how can we solve this situation. And I really think that persons can really join this platform and push themselves to be they can make themselves accountable.
Better individual.
Yes.
I like that. So about the poll, the mental health poll, what were some of the questions that were asked? What were some of the results that came through? Engage us.
Okay, so one of the first questions that were asked was whether counseling and mental health services are easily available through your school or your community. And the results on that poll were telling. So 49% of the people who responded to the poll said that yes, there are services available. 29% said no, but 22% did not know at all. So it's important. This tells us now that, okay, 49% knows that there are services available. What about that 22%? What about the 29% who don't have access to the services? So as we can see, we had 1,151 people responded to the poll, which is a really good response. That's really good participation. So this information can now be taken and developed so that we can now say, okay, what are the communities that, or the countries that we now need to look at making these services available?
Or how they need to improve marketing.
Correct.
Definitely.
How to ensure that people actually know that they exist if they're there.
Right,
so one thing I like about your report, OECS, is how it pushes for data-driven policies.
Correct.
Because with this information now, we now know, as you said, 22 persons at 22 percentage of the responders don't know if these services are available, and so now it tells you there is some more work to be done.
Right.
Correct.
So it went further. So you can always find the results of this poll on our website, youreportoacs.in. So another question was asked whether they have visited any mental health professional or went for counseling and support in the last 3 months. We had 11% of our respondents say yes, 64% said no. We had a 23% who said no, but they wanted to, and a 2% that said they're not sure.
So what do you think can we do? What can we do with this data?
Well, with the data that would have been collected, I think it's very telling that
persons don't want to go to
while they do know, because of this stigma that surrounds it,
correct. It's definitely that stigma
that they don't have the capacity to go to these places, even though they are available. And so we look at it and state, well, hey, there needs to be a certain level of accountability for persons that we need to say, well, hey, yes, I've realized that I haven't been feeling well emotionally for quite some time. I need to seek out a mental health professional and see what's going on. And we can also advocate for peer-to-peer counseling that the few guests would have spoken about, where I can turn to my friend and say, well, hey, I haven't been feeling well for this past week. I'm feeling very closed off. And that friend can in turn tell them, well, hey, I'm listening to you. They can give sound advice.
Yes.
And a part of that sound advice, they can also recommend them to a licensed therapist.
Correct.
And that's something that that person should actually explore, even if it's not an everyday, every week thing. Once in a blue moon, you make the journey to a therapist and say, well, hey, I'm feeling uncomfortable in certain areas.
Right.
How can you assist me? And it's all about a conversation, because the therapist can only assist you with what you tell them.
And communicate to them.
Yes.
Right, but even back to just point out from what Darren is saying, another question was asked in relation to how beneficial that visit was. And even with the stigma going on, people who do venture out to seek therapy, to seek counseling, at least 41% of them said it was very helpful. 44% said it was somewhat helpful, which those are really good figures, because if now we have young people going out seeking the help that they need, and once you realize it's helpful, we now have somebody who's growing, who's learning, who is getting over some of the issues that they're struggling with, and that in turn will encourage their friends to, okay, so it's working for him, it might work for me, or at least let me try it out and see how to benefit
somewhat
me.
helpful as well. It shows that some progress was made. Maybe they might not have gotten over the issue completely, but they haven't written it off.
Right.
So that's some data that you can use to continue pushing, continue advocating for persons to visit these institutions, advocate about the experience that they offer, so that persons, as we said, the stigma would be removed, persons will feel welcome, and persons will feel open to going to these persons and not thinking, oh, well, main crazy, so I don't need to go to a
Right.
mental health
Right.
expert.
Yeah, that's true. And your report is truly a powerful platform that allows persons to express these issues. We go back to the poll where we've seen the response of persons who may not be able, who may be afraid to voice their opinions.
Yeah.
And that's where it comes to the privacy, where you don't have your name, we don't have your number, you're given a random number, and we send out these polls for you to respond to. And in that turn, we can send this information to our policymakers, and they can listen to it and hear it and they can see it, because it's not only on our websites, but we also reach out to different stakeholders and provide them with this information. And so with this information, they can say, well, yes, these individuals in our society, they're feeling the pain, they need advocacy campaigns, they need more counselors. And so with that information, they can in turn make these concrete policies. They can in turn advise the specific information that's needed. And in turn, we can look at the school systems and the students, where we're still in exam season, but we've just removed ourselves from the IDs and the SBs. And I'm certain that quite a bit of persons would have stated, hey, I'm having difficulty finding specific information, specific data. And so what you report, again, is a really powerful platform.
Definitely.
It's putting in place the information that persons need, that persons want, that persons require, not only for their livelihoods, but for their schooling.
Yeah, it definitely gives youth a say at the round table.
Definitely.
So you're encouraging persons, of course, to send that text join to the social media platforms or the number that is being displayed on the screen, so that you can be a part of the data. You can help to collect data, you can help to shape the policies, you can definitely help to be a part of the voice that causes that change that we need.
The input is necessary.
Persons feel like enough is not being done to support mental health. So if you participate in this poll, you can say what exactly needs to be done. You can give your views anonymously. You don't have to say my name is Asani McDonald. Just have to plug in the information and it generates the data. Data is given to policymakers. Policymakers make the policy. We get change. We're all happy.
Right, and that's what we were talking about earlier, that it takes a few seconds to just answer the poll, because we always say that the youth voice they want to hear the youth voice, we want to hear the youth voice, but we have to be able to get a general view of what is actually going on with the youth. And with your report, it's just a few seconds, you type in, you answer the polls, and that's it. You're part of such big change, because now, like Darren said, we could give the information to policymakers, and even if they want to target specific areas in St. Kitts-Nevis, they are able to get direct information, because we have information by parishes, by the entire country. So it's an initiative that we want young people to be a part of. We want them to join, and we do want them to not just join, but to continue to look out for the polls, because the information is important for us to continue meeting, which is why we will continue to meet with stakeholders and continue to lobby, right, for youth empowerment, because our voice matters. Our voice matters. If you follow Instagram or Facebook, you'll notice that at many of the schools we would have a video or a short clip with everyone saying your voice matters or youth voice matters.
That's important. So to wrap up, are there any projects that you guys are working on? Your report OACS, report SKN.
Well, currently we have engaged the St. Kitts National Youth Parliament Association, SKNYPA, a youth parliament sitting on various youth policies, and we hope to exhibit these things. We hope that the public is, of course, aware that they're listening and that they're understanding that, yes, the youth has a voice, the youth would like to be heard. Please have compassion.
Yes, and
it's one of the
yes, it is. And it definitely, and one of the main features of it will be that the data used for that sitting will be collected using the U-Report platform.
You heard it You heard it here first.
And if you want to be a change agent, you definitely join a board. SKNYPA is on board. You should get on board too.
Right.
And we have one more initiative that we have been pushing, is a faith-based initiative where we reach out to the youth groups within the churches, because generally we find that youth outside of churches will be generally attracted to certain things, or that they will be the target market. But we also want to go into the churches to let them know that their voice matters as well, and that is important to hear what they have to say.
Awesome. Very good information here
Sounds
from
good,
our
sounds
You
good.
Report ambassadors for St. Kitts-Nevis. Thank you very much, Naomi. Thank you very much, Darren. And we'll take one final commercial break, and we'll be back to wrap up our season finale.
Thanks for having us.
Hello and welcome to Event Extraordinaire. Today we wanted to introduce you to our sparkler boxes. Our sparkler boxes are customized to fit any occasion. And today we wanted to show you what exactly comes in a themed party sparkler box. So here goes! Each sparkler pack contains enough items to have a party for 6 persons. So in addition to all the regular parts that come with a sparkler party, as in the cups, the spoons, the plates, and even the horns, we wanted to let you know that you also get masks, you get invitations, there are party hats, there's even a party banner, there's your usual loot bags, you get a tablecloth, and you even get blowers. Our sparkler boxes are available in a variety of themes. There's Spider-Man, Frozen, Paw Patrol, Minnie Mouse, Peppa Pig, any theme that you can imagine, Events Extraordinaire is here to supply. Please visit us today. We are located in Camps next to the 24-hour gas station. Our numbers are 767-6977 or 663-6227. Events Extraordinaire. Let's add the sparkle to your event.
Welcome back to the season finale for Youth Lounge with SKNYPA. Imagine that, Malika, we're at the end of our first season. We could not have done it without our viewing audience. And so we want to thank you guys who tuned in every last Monday of the month. And of course today, Wednesday. We want to thank the persons who believed in the vision for Youth Lounge with SKNYPA. We want to say a special thank you to ZIZ for believing in the vision, for believing that the youth can do this youth-led show to capitalize on the views and opinions of youth within our federation. That is something that persons have been calling for, and ZIZ has definitely given us that opportunity to do just that. We want to thank, of course, our set design, Events Extraordinaire. She puts literally the extraordinaire in her name.
Literally
every single season, every single episode, sorry, she would have delivered great backdrops to ensure that this youth lounge setting is a notch above the rest.
That's what.
So we want to thank those persons who believed in us, and we are sorry that we have to say this, but it is the end of the first season. We want to encourage more persons to come on board as sponsors so that we can deliver a bigger and better season 2. Reach out to us. We can reach out to you. If you know anyone who is interested in sponsoring our youth-led show, we are open to all of the ideas. So once again, we thank you for joining us every last Monday of the month and today, Wednesday. And we'll say that this is for the end of our first season.
See you soon.
See you soon.
Join us for Youth Lounge with SKNYPA, a talk show on vital topics like tourism, entrepreneurship, education, religion, sex education, and mental health, featuring experts from St. Kitts-Nevis and the Caribbean region. Tune in live on ZIZ on the last Monday of each month at 8:30 p.m.